Okay, and we are live. What's good, y'all? It's your girl Indah G in the house, back again with another episode of the Indah G Show, where educational and entertaining gets a little explicit. Full episodes are available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Episode clips are also available on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. PSA for all of our deaf and hard of hearing viewers and listeners all over the world: our full episodes on YouTube come with automatic English closed captions that have been reviewed and revised by our team to ensure accuracy. For those of our local Indonesian audience in need of Indonesian translations, you can find Bahasa Indonesia closed captions on the episode clips of this episode, uploaded on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, which we will be sure to post a lot of from each and every episode on the show to ensure that none of you miss out. Period. And look who we got back in the hot. Oh my god!
I'm back in the hot seat.
Back in the hot seat. We've leveled up.
Production value.
Do you
guys see this? I love how someone said though it looked like a OnlyFans setup.
Do you think so?
I don't think so.
Because to me, like porn and OnlyFans, like it's more red. Don't you think?
Yeah, and
Right?
I feel like the setup with the couches it's just the lighting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I feel like this is giving more like gamer girl, streamer girl.
That's true. That's
Right?
true. Mhm.
Like y'all just saying it looks like OnlyFans and porn because it's me. Just be honest. It's okay. I'm not
They
offended.
actually want it though.
They actually
they
want
want
it.
it. They're asking for it.
I have been thinking about making an OnlyFans, but not for that type of content. For like sex ed.
Oh, I would apply.
But-
What is it? Apply or you subscribe? Right?
Davin, do you subscribe? Davin's in the back.
Wait, how would Duffin know?
I don't know.
Wait, what is it? So when you have an OnlyFans,
OnlyFans,
do you
subscribe?
Yeah,
with money?
good money.
Yeah, you gotta pay me
Wait,
for sex ed content that I'm making on YouTube for free. What the fuck? Wow. Is that your coffee?
I think so.
But anyways, you guys, Lunar is back in the house.
I am.
And we're talking about something very would you say it's spicy? It's very
I think it's more. I think it's probably not as spicy as our other topics.
yeah.
It's more. I would say it gives me like sisterly vibes because this is like more or less us talking about girls, girl to girl, like giving comments on maybe the environment right now that like feminism is going through and like how we perceive it. So it's not our spicier content, but I think this is a very personal one for me. I might
Yeah.
cry a little bit later. This
Yeah.
is very.
Which is exactly
Yeah.
why you're here, because
You just want to see me cry.
well, that, and also just because I know this is a topic that hits close to home for you, and I feel like it might hit close to home for a lot of the girls. This episode is very much, it's for the girls.
It is for the girls.
It is for the girls.
So if you're like a cis male,
Log up. No, I'm just kidding. No,
no,
we want.
I'm kidding. We want everybody here today.
I want your views. I want your money. But
Actually, even though this topic is mainly about, should we just say like
Yeah.
motherhood,
yeah.
males play a very detrimental role
I mean, of
to
course.
how this all came to be and how it can be improved and
Yeah.
like us moving forward. So whatever you claim yourself to be, stick around. It's gonna be like a very nice sisterly talk today.
I've always wanted to share this story. Actually, this took place like back in GIS, after I graduated. So I went to, obviously, I graduated class of 2016. Then class of 2017, I went
Oldie.
to their geriatric,
Ancient,
serving 75-year-old
a
backaches.
fossil.
Yeah, but I went to the class of 2017
Mm.
GIS graduation. And one of the the one and only valedictorian. I don't know if you are familiar with her, Vivian. We'll censor the last name, but Vivian is a very generic name. No, 2017. I'm 2016. Yeah. I still remember her valedictorian speech, and it left an impact on me. I'm not even joking.
Hey, what was it?
Because essentially, to boil down her speech, obviously she, was valedictorian, right?
Mhm.
And the premise of her speech was just, I know I'm like this super smart kid. I get all the, I'm up here being valedictorian. I get all these good grades. I have all of these accomplishments. And, and I'm going to an Ivy League university. She went to Columbia University, which is like, I mean, that is no small feat, mama, right?
Oh my god!
Right?
Impressive.
Queen, right? But, the content of her speech was just like, because I'm the way that I am, because I am this like, I'm very decorated, like academically decorated
All these
person.
accolades, yeah.
Exactly. Because of that, a lot of people have all of these expectations of me to really go to reach for the moon, the stars, and the rainbow, and like become a CEO of like
a corporate
yeah,
corporate achievement.
yeah,
Yeah.
to become a CEO of like some big mega MNC, or just like to all of the usual sort of like stereotypical
the traits that maybe what you would deem a successful person would have, or like what they'd achieve, or what they'd have as their job.
Yes. Yeah. So she was talking about how she understands that is the expectation that people have because of her accolades, but really at the end of the day, her biggest dream is to just become a mom and raise children, and like because that's, and it was also just an homage to her parents who were down there in the audience watching her, and then she started crying and everything. It was like a super emotional speech. Might cry. Yeah. No, and it really left an impact on me, not just because she cried and everything, but it was just because that was honestly the first time I was able to properly empathize, and the first time someone has ever coherently explained to me why motherhood, and also like why women actively choose to become housewives / stay-at-home moms. That was the first time, because I mean yeah, this, but for the audience that don't know this, is because I grew up raised by a single mom, right? So she did everything, and she was a working woman. And then on top of that, so the sentiment of like a woman staying at home in the house taking care of the kids and like not doing a career, that's not something that I grew up seeing, right?
Same.
And then but then on top of that, I think it's also coupled with, I think on top of that too, there's the element of us going to a very westernized, Americanized school, that we're very liberal, we're very progressive, we very much subscribe to the modern feminism movement that was taking place in countries like America, Canada, what have you. And so my environment was conducive for me to grow up sort of internalizing this mindset of like, a lot of these women that say that they want to be housewives and stay home, take care of the kids, it's like one of those internalized misogyny. Yeah. It was really difficult for me to understand why a woman genuinely would want that, because to me, like in my perspective, it was always like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, why would you subject yourself to that? You know what I mean? But
children the spawn of Satan. What?
Not even just that, but it's like, really, stay at home and do nothing? Like, really, do you not the mindset, the attitude,
that is the stereotypical attitude towards the idea of being a stay-at-home mom, or maybe just like dedicating your life to being a mother, right?
My attitude towards it was always just like, not even just children, because like children was always like really gross to me, but it was also the attitude of like, really, you don't want to aspire, you
don't want more,
you don't want more, you don't have any ambitions. That was kind of always like the internalized mindset for me. Vivian's speech was the first time that it made sense. Yeah.
For me, it was the very reason why, I guess, well, I'll put it out there. This is the reason why I'm here today, is because I've expressed to Indah before that one of my biggest dreams beyond career, beyond everything, is to start a family, is to become a mother, is to take care of my children. Everything that I do in my life, whether that's career or education, supplements that. That is the end goal, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we're talking about that today. And the reason being for that, and the very like essence of like where that comes from, is because my mom is a working woman, and I saw the effects of that, and how, bless my mom, I love her, kind of single mom, bringing us to like 4 different countries, never asked a dime or a paycheck from anybody to help us through that, and like I was able to travel the world and have a really like good education, like 100% all props to her. But because of that, when you excel in one area, the other has to compensate.
Yeah.
So while she was like bawling, the whole like career corporate life, home was a bit empty. Home was a bit empty, and it's kind of a shame. And I talk about this with my mom. I don't have that many memories of her when I was like a child. And you kind of hear this a lot with like single working moms, right? That alone wasn't enough for me to become a mom. But I think maybe around my teen years, I started realizing how like neglect is like a very big, it's a subtle form of, I wouldn't say abuse, but it can create some form of trauma, and it can create this big pit of loneliness, and you're lost and you have no guidance, and you kind of don't want to bother someone that's literally working their butt off to provide you with resources. So and then beyond that, there's a lot of like household things that I would like go over to my friends' homes, and like they would be so comfortable. There would be food on the dinner table. There would be like, the mom would like do their laundry, and like they wouldn't really have to think about anything else but schoolwork. And me, on the other hand, the flip side, like me and my mom were literally working as a team. I mean, I guess it might be different if you have like both parents are working, but they're not divorced. Like I'm not really sure how that works, but especially since my mom was a single mom. I had to like kind of help out around the house to the extent where I couldn't relate to any of my other friends that had to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And so that heavy burden on me, every time it was too much, I would always go into like a safe place in my brain where it's like, oh, if one day I'm a mom, like my kids don't have to worry about this. And for some reason that keeps me going.
Yeah.
Like even when it comes to like uni now, Devin's like, so I think every time I have an assignment that like is literally killing me, I always like wonder, would my kids be proud? Like, will they see me as someone that's strong? Even if it's something like small like that.
Yeah.
Or even if it's like any hardship that I go through, it's through that experience, I can't wait to share that with them. I can't wait to like tell them that it's going to be okay. So I guess in a way, maybe the stereotypical thing, and some people might view this wrong as well, I'm trying to heal my inner child by like providing, oh my God, I'm going to cry.
I might cry now.
Yeah, trying to like heal my inner child by giving opportunities to my future kids, and I do everything for them even though I haven't even met them. That's how powerful these sort of like feelings can be. And oh, thank you, Peter. Sorry if you guys hear that rustling.
It's Peter.
It's the tissues.
Giving tissues.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, me personally, when I say that I want to heal my inner child, I'm not trying to force anything on my child. I'm not trying to vicariously live through them either. I'm not trying to shape or mold them in any which way. I just want them. I think there's nothing more satisfying for me to provide like a safe, functioning, loving household, because I had trouble having that for myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing also is like when you have a single working parent, there's no one to really go home to get advice from. And on top of that, like my mom was great enough that she came to performances, but never had the time to check my report card.
Yeah.
Never had the time to really check like how I was doing in school, and so I just kind of like suffer. Yeah. And you know what? Because of that though, I kind of blamed myself a little bit, thinking like, oh, why couldn't I have raised myself better?
Yeah.
Because I guess where my mom is coming from, she is the eldest child of 3. Yeah. And she's very like hyper independent. So she like raised her kids raised her siblings, because my grandpa passed away, I think when she just was about to graduate uni. And so like she has younger siblings, and so she carried all of this burden, and like she took care of her parents, and she's like the breadwinner of our entire family. So maybe in her eyes that sort of thing was projected onto me, where it was like, yeah, I have to kind of raise myself too, and I have to like live for pleasing my parent, and like to also, you know, work as a team with her. But that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure for a young teen, especially like figuring out just school, like basic teen stuff, you know. So compiled with that, it's like it was such a burden in many ways that I just don't want to put that on my own kids. Like I've always like never invited my friends over to my house. I don't think Devin's ever been to my house, because like there's some personal issues there as well. And so whenever I go to like a friend's house and there's like literally food in the kitchen, and like their parents are there, and like it's a clean home, and they don't have to worry about, you know what I mean? Just like going over to a friend's house to do homework. Yeah. That was like my dream one day. Like hopefully my kids can invite their friends over without feeling any sort of like shame or anything. Like, again, that encompasses the whole kind of creating a household, I guess, goes into like, we'll talk about it later, like the CEO of the household. Yeah.
But I find it very interesting, because you and I pretty much grew up the same way with single moms that always worked and were never home, and yet we grew up to like harbor such different sentiments towards the whole thing. And I guess the only rational explanation that I can think of is, I guess, the social environment that we grew up in, I guess. And I delve a lot. I've been delving a lot in politics since I was very, very young. I've gotten in trouble at school because of it, because I was like always posting political shit
for president
on like Facebook, and then the teachers would see it, and then they would call my mom and everything.
Oh my god!
But yeah. No, but I delved a lot in politics, even like since a very, very young age, right? And so obviously, kind of what comes in the package of when you delve so much into politics, especially like social cultural politics, I guess fair to say I was exposed to the narrative of like, how do you word it, the modern feminist narrative of like, you should want to
hyper independence,
the whole hyper independence, sort of almost bordering like you should become just like men kind of a mentality. I guess I grew up with that since like such a young age. Like I was growing up while the movement was growing, right?
I think the issue with that is like, if you embody male traits, or if you can successfully execute them as a woman, then that is strength.
Yeah. Yes.
You see that even in Marvel movies right now, where like they try to give all of these female superheroes these very, I guess, masculine powers, and then they also talk down to men versus, like, I don't know, I guess Black Widow, where she like embodies her like feminine side and like all these things to like,
but still Molly whoops your ass.
Yeah, Molly whoops your ass.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. I think my mom was just a living example of like, yeah, if you embody these male traits, you will benefit somehow. So it was never like something that was spoken in the house. It was just like I had a living, walking, breathing example of like, oh yeah, she did like, you know, even though there was a glass ceiling and she got paid less than her male counterparts, like, you know, I didn't really need to like go or look any further than like right in front of my eyes to see that. But honestly, actually for me, like when my mentality started to shift from being like, oh, I don't need a man, I don't need all these things, I think was like seeing my mom just so tired.
Wow.
Like coming home from work and like she'd basically rely on me to like make sure there was food in the house and all of these things. And
yeah,
it was like that I didn't mind. Of course it was like tiring for me, but at some point I was like, wouldn't it be so nice if she had someone? Like, wouldn't it be so nice if there was like someone that could like take a load off of her shoulders? And I guess that's why, even though I want to be a mom, the important thing for me is a family.
Okay.
You know, it's a 2-person job to raise kids.
It really is. It takes a village. Yeah,
it takes a village. Women that are able to execute that and actually do it, props to you. You're literally going against like the laws of nature, like you know,
defying all the fucking odds.
Defying all the odds.
Yeah.
And I think seeing how tired my mom was, and at some point we hit like a really big financial crisis where there was just so much neglect, like so. Oh my god, I'm gonna say something that I've never said, but like, I remember at GIS when things were like really bad. I don't think the water was working in my house. So I had to go to GIS at like 5 a.m., climb over the pool gate so I could shower at school.
Oh, goodness.
And like, people would ask me like, oh, why is your hair wet? And I'd be like, oh yeah, I had like swim practice. And I had to like avoid all the other people on the swim team because like they knew you don't have fucking swim practice early in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't think of a better lie. And like, because of that, I guess that's why it's so important to have like someone in the house, like a motherly figure, not just a maid, not just someone that cleans, but someone that like actively tries to take care of you, you know. And I feel like my mom deserves that. I deserve that. I shouldn't be so hard on myself. She shouldn't be so hard on herself. So I feel like sometimes with this hyper independence comes this really big opportunity, and it's so sad to like just blame yourself for everything that you couldn't do. Yeah. Because asking for help is, I guess, just not an option, because that would mean weakness, vulnerable, you know, all of these things. So I think that for me was like that shocking wave of neglect made me realize how important having a motherly figure in the house is, and how that can really change the odds for someone.
Yeah. I guess it's also just a matter of like, obviously we're 2 different people and we just have different ways of interpreting our situations. Yeah. I think for me, oh god, I hope my mom does not watch this, but like no, I really no, I really hope my mom does not watch this, because I don't know, this is kind of mean, but it's like I guess one element to it is also I've internalized, how should I say this in a nicer way, my mom for the longest time. I hated my mom most of my life up until like maybe I the thing that saved me and my mom's relationship was when I moved to the US, you know what I mean? Like getting that time and space and like literally distance
makes
away.
The heart grow fonder.
It really does. But I hated I hated my mom like most of my life growing up, and so it was always I guess part of my a lot of the times when I, you know, the whole like whenever I see a woman, I hear a woman go, I want to be a mom. I want to raise kids one day. Like, and I would have that sort of like, reaction.
Because you have an image of your own mother.
Yeah, because I think it was me projecting a lot of my resentment towards my own mom, because for the longest time, my mom was always an example of who I did not want to be. Yeah. And for the longest time, recently this has shifted, but for the longest time, I was okay with her as a person, but I hated her as a mother.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
So understandable.
Yeah. So I guess it's just also like, I mean, obviously our parents are different and we are different. And so I guess it's just, but it's very interesting that we interpreted our situations very differently.
I totally get what you mean though, like having a really big rough patch with your parents. Yeah. Or like even your mom. I think I'm in that right now, actually. Mom, I love you, but like, we got to work on some stuff.
Yeah. And for me too, like the idea, the thought of motherhood always was very daunting to me, because I always internalized it as I never had a good example of what it was like to be a good mom, right? So it's like, then the fuck am I gonna know about being a good mom? I'm gonna fuck my own kid up the same way my mom fucked me up. That
Oh my god, you can totally leave your kids at my place.
Use you as like my fucking free daycare.
Free daycare,
yeah.
I guess now that my relationship with my mom is also rocky, my sort of way of detaching from it, because it can get really overwhelming for me, is I write down like a mental note where it's like, don't do this when you have kids, or like do this. For me, that is my safe place that I go to, where it's like, okay, noted, don't do this instead, or do this. You know, there's I take a lot of good and bad from my mom. You know, I feel like
we all do. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she did from her parents. Like, you know, it's a cyclical thing, like a generational thing. So like for me, that's where I find my salvation, and how I can forgive myself.
Yeah,
is through that. But I completely get what you mean as well.
Yeah. No, number one, there's a book actually like titled, like not really titled that verbatim, but like along those lines. I'll send it to you. Number two, I'm also now growing up. Like my mentality has sort of shifted, and I've kind of adopted a new attitude where it's like, well, okay, similar to you, where it's like my mom is an example of who I don't want to be, and so I can use that to become a better parent. Yeah. I guess let's dive into like the main topic of like
how this all came to be in the first place.
Yeah, I guess the big question of this episode is, has modern feminism gone too far in promoting the, you know, hashtag girl boss trope, that it has now come to the extent of undermining and undervaluing mothers and women that genuinely want to take care of the home and raise kids? I think this conversation, let's go, first of all, like, I think right now the topic we're on is specifically motherhood, so it's more of like the stay-at-home mom and not the housewife, because a housewife, that's an identity centered on the like your relationship being married to a man. But right now what I want to focus on is just like being a mom, like being a stay-at-home mom.
That is a big question.
It's a lot. This is
what we meant when we said this is a big, heavy sisterly talk. Has it gone too far?
You know exactly what I mean, though.
Yeah, I think so.
Because you yourself, when I brought this up, you were like, you opening up to me about how, you know, your biggest dream is to, you know, one day become a mom and raise kids. And
I think I gave like a disclaimer beforehand, and I always do.
Yeah,
I always do.
Because you dead ass. I wish I could read the text message right now. You dead ass said to me, that's not something that I would just easily say out loud in front of anybody.
Yeah, because I'm surrounded by, I guess, what I think and what I would assume is like everyone is, you know, participating in this whole like hyper independent like women boss, like, oh, you got to be like a working woman, like you got to earn your keep, you got to basically, in order for you to be considered a woman of the modern age, you must like work your ass off and not even think about families, because there's that perception that like, oh, if you're a mom, you're a slave to your husband, to the kids. And I'm like, I don't think that's always the case. And so, you know, again, I'm very inspired by a lot of like my female friends who have small businesses at this age, or they also work. So it's kind of like, for me, usually when people ask me what my career is, I'm like, or like my career dreams or what I want to do, I tell them like, I mean, I want to work in the creative field, this and that, but like, it's at the end of the day, the reason why I'm also taking graphic design now at the end is to like, so I can work mobile and like
remote work.
So I totally get what you mean. I remember like when you asked me, I was like, oh, well, I know this sounds crazy, but like, you know, I'm just gonna put it out there. I want to be a mom, you know.
You always had to put a disclaimer, soft disclaimer on it.
I do have that feeling though, still.
And you're not the only one. I deadass, maybe I should not name her on the internet, but one of my very good friends, we were in the car on the way back from Gebeka, from our like morning workout, and we were just kind of like on the phone and whatever. I guess she was like, you know, in her like little world, just like thinking of whatever, and then like out of nowhere she just goes like, dude, honestly, like, I don't want to work. I want to be a mom. I just want to like raise kids, and that's it. And I'm like, honestly, I support that. Because I feel as we should, because
that's
here's the
whole
thing.
Point, you know?
Because here's the whole thing. Like, the whole point of feminism to begin with was to be able to give women the option to do and to pursue life the way that we want.
Yeah.
And now you go online and you see all of these women that claim to be, you know, like, you know, the modern feminists, right? Like, they see a woman that abides and like, you know, follows, like she fits into the standard mold of like the traditional woman, you know what I mean?
And they
like
think she's like trapped or something.
Yeah,
like,
and
blink twice if you need help.
Yeah, exactly. Like they kind of they kind of condescend her. They kind of like put her down a little bit, or you know.
Like, do you do anything else though?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, do you do anything else? Like, I always see comments like that. where it's like, damn, must be so nice to like just stay at home.
Even like amongst my friends, like sometimes, you know, the conversation of like when we're in a group of friends and then there's someone like I don't know, for example, like Davin, right? And like let's say Davin's not in the room, and then like someone asks like, what does Davin's parents do, right? Or like both mom and dad. And I come from the kind of my social circle is very common. It's actually more common for both our parents to work, for like the mom to also work, right? So it's very rare to have that one friend say that, oh, my mom's just a stay-at-home mom, right? And then I remember this one time we were talking about someone asked like, what does someone's parents do? And then they said, oh, the dad does this, and like, and then what about the mom? The mom's just a stay-at-home mom. And then the person said, that's it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And you know what? The fact that he said that's it, that's like a verbal thing. There's always, I can see in people's eyes when like someone, you know, says like, oh yeah, my mom just stays at home, like she just takes care of the house.
And they go,
there's a bit of like a waft in the room where it's like, there's like slight judgment where it's like, oh.
It's like someone just farted.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. No, it's like there's a big elephant in the room that no one wants to address, where it's like, I don't think people understand how hard it is.
Yeah. And we'll get more into that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, that's the thing. It's like just the whole point of feminism was to give women the option to pursue life the way we want, right? So now how is it that we have women that want to become housewives and like want to become stay-at-home moms?
We have this sort of disdain towards them for not wanting more. But how feminism was there as a community to help us support us girls in our dreams and what we wanted to do, and the fact that we have options and we can choose.
I mean, just to put it into context, right? At the same time, I understand. I don't support it. I understand why a lot of women think the way that I used to think, right? So I know what led me to the way that I used to think is because when you look back in history, pretty much all of humanity, women were told that we can only do one thing and one thing only: stay at home, be a good wife, child breeder, child bearer,
incubate children every season if possible.
Yes,
provide heirs.
Exactly,
you know?
Exactly.
Like House of the Dragon type shit.
Yeah, literally Targaryen, Game of Thrones type shit. No,
in order to serve the realm, this is the way you do it, is by being pregnant.
Exactly, exactly. And then someone even said that in House of Dragons. We're not gonna talk about that.
Yeah, we could go on.
But wait, what was I saying? Right. Because so based off of historical context, I understand the mentality. I also understand why a lot of women are still. I even understand why a lot of women are triggered by it, because you have to take into consideration. I feel like a lot of these really loud feminists online that shit on women that choose to abide by traditional gender roles, to that fit into that traditional model.
Embody a lot of that, maybe what they would call old-fashioned values.
Old-fashioned women. A lot of it is just projection. Like the same way with me, like it was a projection, but it was about my mom. But for them, it's a projection of like a lot of women still grow up in the kind of households where they are actively being told like, you know, you can get whatever degree, but at the end of the day, ujung-ujungnya kamu juga nanti masuk dapur.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's kind of like their way of fighting back, but the way where the fight is being targeted is very wrong.
Yeah,
very wrong.
Essentially, what I'm saying, so much of modern feminism, especially when we're specifically in the context of this whole hyper independence girl boss trope, putting down women that want to stay at home and raise kids. It's just lashing. A lot of it's just lashing out. It really is. I empathize with that.
Yeah, they're lashing out at the system, but the way that they're doing it is by lashing out at, you know, other females that participate in that, which I think is like understandable, hypocritical, you know, in a lot of ways. Like this is a long-standing stigma. This is like history in the making. So I understand why a lot of people don't. When they see a woman that just stays at home, they must think like, oh God, how sorry for her that she couldn't like reach for the stars.
Yeah, literally the mentality is I used to be of this mentality of like, oh, I guess she like, oh, kasian, you know,
like she kind of like gave up, you know, something like
gave up. It's either that or like, oh, she's brainwashed, like brainwashed.
I see that a lot
brainwashed by the patriarchy, by like the male figures in her family, into thinking that, oh, the only thing that she can do and the only way she can be fulfilled is by just staying at home and taking care of the kids, and like that's it. That was always that's always the way. Who
created that stigma originally?
That is true. Yeah,
men.
Yeah. So much of this. as always, the fault is always men.
Are we gonna get into this more later?
Yeah.
Okay,
No, we're getting into it
Okay.
like now.
Okay.
Recently I started thinking about how a lot of people, they never label a woman rearing her children as leadership. Even though like that's technically what you're doing. You're rearing a child, you're leading a child, and taking care of the house. You're in charge of the household. That is all. It all carries connotations to leadership, but for some reason we just never label it that
way.
And then not even just for women. Think about men, like back in the, I guess, in the pre-industrial age, right? Men would take care of the cattle, the livestock, right? And they would go out, and they would go out because they want to provide for the family. Providing, isn't that nurturing?
Yeah.
You taking care of your cattle and your livestock, isn't that nurturing? But for some reason, because it's men, we just never label it as nurturing. And because it's women, we never label it as leadership. Yeah.
I mean, I think I texted this to you on WhatsApp a few days ago, where it's one thing to be in charge of employees, of business proposals, of your own little, crew of corporate whatever, but it's another thing to literally be responsible for one human being, their livelihood, the way that they grow up, the way that they turn out to be. This is why when you texted me this, I was like, did I manifest this video? Because I was watching Dahmer, right? And like, not that I sympathize with him, I'm very sorry for the victims, but I saw the number you can do on a kid just by fucking up as a parent.
Wait, what's Dahmer's story? Like,
so
why?
Dahmer was I don't want to say victim, but in his childhood, he went through a lot of neglect. And that was like, his mom was actually suffering through like postpartum depression, but at the time they just didn't know how to diagnose it. And like the dad was always busy working, and so he kind of like went through his own vices and like found that, I like torturing animals. But the whole idea was like, you could literally let out a murderer into society if you are not careful. Like, you are solely responsible for this one child. A business will always find its way. You're working with a team, a horde of people. Even if you are solely responsible, it's money. It comes and goes. Assets come and go.
Absolutely.
But this is literally a human being with a soul, with potential, that is constantly always reorganizing their schemas and their understanding of the world. And not only that, but like, yes, maybe you can like create a safe place for them at home, but they're going to go out into the real world. Then they're going to come back. They're going to come back with all the shit that they just saw, that they just learned. And then you're going to have to like help guide them through. Maybe you shouldn't, listen to that so much. Maybe you should like adopt something else, and you got to like help them go through those changes. And that for me is like, it terrifies me. But at the same time, it kind of like intrigues me as well. And it's baffling that some people don't see that as like the largest form of leadership. Literally behind every great man and every great leader was like a
great
mom,
parents,
great parents, someone to guide them, to help them. And especially like a lot of men now that have a lot of issues towards women, they probably have mommy issues.
So 100%.
There's even a movie called Mars Needs Moms, where I think it was, I don't know if it was Pixar. It was kind of one of those like animated movies that flopped, unfortunately. But basically it was like, everyone needs a mom. Everyone needs that sort of, it's not just a nurturing figure, but it's a figure that maybe behind the scenes you don't realize how much they contribute to how stable your upbringing can be. Because I'm sure maybe stereotypically children would view their dad as like, oh, bringing home the dough, bringing home the money. Mom allocates that money. She goes and makes sure that everything is okay. She's the one that gives advice on like, how to allocate the spending and then like the food. And that's a very stereotypical thing, like I'm pretty sure that the roles are allocated very differently, but and the responsibilities. But I have so much respect for moms.
No. And as I grow up and like, moving back to Indonesia and like living with my mom, and like, again, it's similar with you of like seeing how tired my mom is, and like, it's a little bit of that. I guess it would be nice, like not even for my sake of like, because I've always wanted a dad, but it's just like for my mom's sake. It's like, so that she's just not tired of like doing everything on her own too. Everything really starts at home, and this is something that's, for me personally, it's really hard, right? Because it's again a projection of my resentment towards how a lot of people, when I was growing up, every single negative aspect, every single one of my weaknesses, and every single one of my flaws, people always pegged it on the fact that I came from a broken home. And so I never I don't want to give into that narrative because a lot of conservatives and like just fucking bigots in general, like they run with that trope of like, oh, she comes from especially
watch out for her. She comes from a broken home.
Yeah.
She's from the streets. Something like that.
A lot of conservatives, they still perpetuate that narrative. I don't want to give into that narrative, right? But it's so hard for me to admit, again, because it's coming from a very personal place. But I also have to acknowledge that when you come from not even necessarily just a broken home, like you could have two parents that are they're together, they're not divorced, y'all living under the same roof, but when you come from a dysfunctional family, a lot of people don't really think about how that can fuck you up, and how as a parent, when you are not putting in the effort to creating a safe space for your child at home, they can turn out to be really fucked up people, like Dahmer. Yeah. And I don't want to say...
It can really set them back. I think I remember when I was getting like C's and D's in school and I was getting in trouble and all these things right before I dropped out.
Yeah.
That was when my household was the most dysfunctional, like the most unbalanced, no baseline, all over the place. And the effect... And that's why, I remember what that felt like. And so I would never wish that upon any child.
Yeah.
It's so difficult trying to navigate through that.
Yeah. I really quickly, I want to put it out there that like I disagree with the narrative that like, broken homes produce broken kids. It's not about the home being broken, mom and dad being separated, or dad's not around. It's not about that. It's just a dysfunctional family, and that's irregardless of whether or not mom and dad are still together living under the same roof. Like you can have a dysfunctional family,
and that does require the child to have to learn how to emotionally regulate and how to like go overcome that faster. So when I hear someone coming from a broken home, I never see that as like a sign of weakness, that they're broken inside. If anything, it's like, you're still here. Damn, look at you. Like
survival
the survival skills that have to kick in when, like, I don't know, I even remember like, shit, how are we gonna pay for electricity this week? Like, those sort of feelings really prepare you for like the real world, and at some point you're gonna have to like sustain yourself. Is it right? Up for debate. I'm sure child psychologists would fairly disagree. Another thing, I actually wanted to be a child psychologist growing up.
Oh,
because I fucking love babies.
Oh,
can you imagine like the way that they like absorb the world around them is through like chewing and just grabbing things, but even then that forms like a million new neurons. Like, I just think that's so fascinating.
Yeah, don't they develop like new neurons like every second or something?
Yeah, they're like little super machines. Like, they're amazing. I love them. I think there's
short fat machines.
Yeah, we don't give kids enough credit. They're like developing every single second. I think it's just fascinating to look at.
Were you offended by my comment that I made on my episode with Raditya Dika where I was like, anak kecil masih
blow on? Not at all. I knew that was a joke. Y'all are too dramatic. I swear to God.
Thank you. And that's coming from the baby lover herself.
That's coming from the baby lover, the child psychology lover.
Yeah. On the note of conservatives, I really want to go into this because obviously, I don't know how much of like American politics you follow, but I follow a lot.
All right, brief me. And
this is what really, it drives me crazy. A lot of conservatives say modern feminism has eroded the family value. Like, modern feminism has made it so that the value of housewives and stay-at-home moms have diminished, and they don't we don't appreciate housewives and stay-at-home moms anymore. Here's my thing.
I get what you're going with this.
You know what I mean? It's like, have we ever
really appreciated them? Now it just seems like it's so convenient that you can like blame women for that as well. When like the origins of that is simply due from women just being frustrated from not being appreciated for being mothers, for being wives. That's where it comes from.
This is exactly in my head. I'm like picturing two dogs like trying to chase each other's tails. Like, this is kind of like cyclical. You know what I mean? The reason why modern feminism has become this way is that it's a active retaliation against people like you. Your narrative.
It's a huge fuck you to like very old fashioned views of that the wife just does nothing at home.
Exactly. And throughout human history, here's like the question that I have for a lot of these conservative political pundits in the US, or maybe even here. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Indonesia tends to follow a lot after America, so it's like I wouldn't even be surprised if this conversation is more frequently happening even here. But my question to conservatives, if you or people who just like align more with that thought, is like, when have we ever, throughout the course of human history, ever really properly valued and appreciated women and the roles of women to begin with? Throughout all of humanity, it was always you're just a wife.
Yeah.
You're just a mom.
Those sentiments didn't start with us.
Yeah.
We were proponents and victims of that.
I hate how all these fucking conservatives, they talk about it like it's some modern phenomenon. No, it's not. It's been from fucking eons. Since in the beginning of time. Since the beginning of time, we've never properly appreciated men.
This whole hyper independent feminism is literally a response to that. It's a result of all those years of like that lifelong stigma. Yeah. So I think it's ridiculous that they want to pin it back on us.
Yeah,
are you crazy? Like,
yeah. I guess going back to the title, like, is it offensive to say housewife? Is it offensive?
No,
I think a lot of people, especially like the very far left of modern feminists, they internalize it as like you're identifying me by proxy of my relationship to a man.
Same thing with stay-at-home moms. Not at all. I think I've had conversations with people where they do just want to be like the trophy wife and the housewife. Looking
Davin.
No, it's a joke when Duffin says it. I know he's a slave to his job, but he's like shaking his head now. Oh, it's not a joke? Okay.
No, Davin wants to be a trophy wife.
Like, for me...
Cuff him up, men.
No, I don't think so. I think the negative connotation comes from a belief that we need to change anyways. We need to start reconstructing how we view women that just decide for themselves, because that's also part of like making your own decision. Is like, oh, you can just be a housewife if you want.
Yeah, again, if you want.
Good for you, dude. Like,
yeah.
Okay, at the same time, like, not everyone wants to be a slave to fucking capitalism and like the corporate world.
No, absolutely not.
I don't even think that's correct. It may even be like this sort of thing that like capitalism is subliminally trying to send to women because they just don't have enough people to like work in the workforce. Is like, you know what I mean? Like,
capitalism has brainwashed.
Yeah. At the same time, it's like, what is the big, realization of like wanting to work a desk job and like climb the corporate ladder? That takes a lot of sacrifice as well. Some women don't want to subscribe to that. That's completely fine too.
Yeah. No, but
save your health. Sleep properly. Do yoga on the weekends. Be that Pilates mom. Like,
yeah. Take care of yourself. No, yeah.
And on the other spectrum, you want to climb the corporate ladder? Good for you. Go break that glass ceiling, girl.
Yeah.
There's milestones in every field that you go into, whether that be like involving other people in the corporate world or like at home.
Now here's my other question. I feel like a lot of people. I feel like, how do I say this? I think a lot of people think that you can't have both. You can't have a stellar career and also be a good mom, or be a good, I guess, a housewife. If we're gonna, housewife, stay-at-home mom.
It's difficult, but I've seen people do it.
Yeah,
I've seen people do it. And at one point, like everything in life, balance is hard to achieve.
Yeah.
When you were, being successful in one field, the other might have to compensate or might, detrimentally be affected by the other one that you're succeeding in. It's like life. Everything that you pay attention to the most that's going to thrive, the others might have to catch up behind you. I know a lot of women that want to like bust out their careers. This is my plan actually initially. Is like, I want to ideally, this is a ballpark. I'm not like super settled on it.
Of course.
But have kids at 30. So like, that gives me 10 years to like enjoy my career and like figure artistically where I want to go and all these things. I think it's definitely doable. That's why I urge women to just like take the time to slow down. To slow down and don't get pressured by all of these like outside voices. Really just figure out who you are. I mean, I still believe though, before you have kids, there's a lot of shadow work to be done.
Oh yeah,
girl,
a lot of introspection. Girl, I'm gonna be going. I've talked about this with Edgar, my boyfriend, who we both have a very set plan of how we want to do this. 10 years work, enjoy ourselves, and then once we're like stable, then we can start like introducing a family to our like goals. Yeah.
I've told him like we need to go through therapy for like a few years.
Oh yeah.
We should probably like. Ideally, I suggest people get married first, enjoy married life for around a year or two, and then have kids. Because then, you don't get to enjoy that like time that you have with like your new spouse, right?
Yeah.
So within that time, I told him like, yeah, we should go to therapy, even if we don't have anything wrong in our lives. Who knows? Maybe there's something that we could be doing better.
Oh, back to the whole is it offensive to say housewife thing? Because here's my internal conflict is like the whole I don't want to identify a woman solely by proxy of her relationship to her husband, right? My confusion is now, let's say you're a stay-at-home wife and a stay-at-home mom. Is there like, I mean, I don't know.
Is it like double whammy, like double the insult?
No, not double whammy. I'm genuinely curious. Like, if any of the women watching this, and this applies to you, like if you're both a stay-at-home mom and a housewife, like, is there a preference for which term? Like you
prefer?
You prefer more. You identify with more.
We should get a wonderful wife and mother on this podcast to answer that question. Miss Ovisa, actually, I'm not sure if you guys know who that is. Her. Yeah, you should. I will. But like, she's a fucking boss.
Yeah,
she's doing it all. You know, and influencer making content is not easy, and she churns that out like every day, and it's like,
and she got a baby, and she got a husband. You know. Well, I don't know if she's taking care of.
Yeah, I mean, men can be children as well at some point. So, I mean, it's like almost taking care of like 2 kids in the house. Like, I know Edgar can get really like bowel at some point.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. I think.
What would you like? Would you have a preference?
Not at all.
You like?
I think though, when I do have kids, I would like to be acknowledged more as a mom.
As a mom. Yeah.
That's like the primary thing. But if I was just a housewife, again, like how I said, I wanted to be married with Edgar for like 2 years before we even think about having children.
Right, and in those 2 years, you are a housewife,
or a working housewife. But I mean, my thing is like, personally, what people don't know how I, what I do in my daily life. I might be working, but they probably think that because I'm like, mobile and doing that at home, that I'm just a stay-at-home housewife, or whatever. But like, I don't mind. I mean, it doesn't affect me, but I'm sure at some point when you go through all of that effort taking care of a house, making sure everything is fine, that can be deemed as offensive.
Yeah,
I think so. I think it's the way that people say it. It's their own perception of what that means and what kind of that entails. Yeah, I think you can tell if people like have disdain for like, oh, you're just a housewife. And I think that would affect me a little bit.
Yeah, I know, but the term
itself, no.
And take it from the girl who used to be like that, right? It's so much of it is just projection.
So much projection, it has very little to do with you.
Yeah. Well, projection, or you just really like, it's kind of, there's no easy way to say this. It's brainwashing, I guess, like from, or just, it's the shit that you hear a lot from the modern feminism movement. And so maybe it's not even projection, but it's just like what you've been told for so long, and like you don't get to see the other side of it. You don't hear the other side of it.
I also like don't at all, I guess, not even blame or judge women that don't want kids and like don't want to pursue that kind of life. And maybe when I tell them my dream, they're a bit like, oh, but aren't you gonna get bored? Like, I don't take that into offense, because I'm like, okay, I understand where this is coming from.
Bored of being a mom?
I'm like, dude, they're gonna drive me up the fucking wall. You think like I have time to be bored? Like,
mama, the first 4 years, you ain't even sleeping, probably.
Yeah, first 4 years. The most vital years for a child are the first 7. That's when so much development happens. That's when like speech, like very basic things like motor mobility, motor movements.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm good for 7 years. Thank you. I'm
not bored for those 7 years.
I also really want to be that mom that like actively plays with my children. Like the whole like role playing thing. Like if they want to like be a chef, like I'll be their sous chef. Like I think active play, that sort of memory stays in my head, because even though my mom wasn't there, my brother was.
Oh,
and so
how old is your brother?
He's 11 years older than me. So the age gap is quite big. But I remember like Lion King was my favorite movie, and he would like reenact like lines with me, and I'd pretend it was like a.
Would he pick you up like you're Simba?
like I'm Simba. I think I was too big for that, but I'm pretty sure when I was younger it was like that. Whether or not I consented to that or not, I think I was a baby when that happened.
Yeah.
But so that's the thing. Those kinds of memories, they live on forever, and so that's the legacy I'd like to leave on this planet beyond my career, beyond my financials. Is like my own spawn running through the world with memories that they have of me and shared experiences. That's
no,
that's a nice thought.
I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this a lot ever since my parenthood episode with Raditya Dika. Also, like in the wake of me getting attacked by a vicious mob of angry netizen mothers and everything. No, but it's at the end, and my mom always says this, right? Like she's like, I don't give a God's fuck if you get married to a man, if you don't bring home a man, like I don't give a fuck. But you need to have children. I don't care if you gotta IVF that shit, you do adoption or whatever, get baby daddy.
Nafin pernah bilang kayak he wants to do a designer baby. So you can do that, babe. You can you pick and choose.
Yeah. But my mom is just she cares about nothing else. I mean, she's one of those like tiger moms, like very overly ambitious, and like she holds me up to that expectation. But at the same time, what really I think grounds her is also just the realization of the fact that you could have all of this money if you don't got a child. What is all of this for? And my mom also, she always says that to me, right? Like, I got all this money, none of it means anything if you're not here.
Fuck.
Yeah. And I'm
gonna cry.
Yeah, no, because I grew up with the kind of mom that was, I mean, obviously, like, she's a hustler and everything, like fucking and all about that money, right? And to some extent, she places that expectation on me of like, you gotta be doing the most, you gotta be achieving the most, you gotta be the richest and make a shit ton of money, right? But even then, she still has it in her to realize that, like, but also, I mean, hey, but don't forget what that money is for. And it's not just for you.
Yeah, because there's only so much one person can spend.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And, I think that, like, again, maybe to... I feel like I'm at a loss for words. I'm kind of like... The food is hitting me.
The emotions are emoting.
The food is hitting me. I'm getting a bit groggy.
Uh-huh.
Just to, like, continue on what we said before, behind, like, every great person is probably like a great mom or a great dad. It's like, yeah, babe, that legacy that you leave behind, working all of those hours, busting your ass off, it all means something when like someone else can benefit from that.
Yeah.
And there's only so much you can like spoil your spouse with as well.
Exactly.
And I find that a lot of people, and this isn't me trying to like force my ideals on anybody, but at some point when you do get old, people do wonder, like, shit, should I have kids? But again, I also know some people that don't want to have kids because of how dark the world is. Yeah. And I respect them for that as well.
Yeah.
Because I completely understand, like, yeah, it is a dark world. You don't want to put this, like, bright, vulnerable being into here just to, get hurt by, like, external things. So I completely understand that as well.
Yeah. And also just, I mean, y'all don't want to hear this, but not all of you are meant to be parents.
Yeah, that too.
That too.
But I even still think, despite me wanting to be a mom, beyond the fact that I'm not ready yet, I also don't think I deserve my children yet. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, like, a lot of what some parents maybe don't realize is, like, you having children is not just something you check off a list. It's a fucking gift.
But
like,
to a lot of people,
it is just a thing to check off the list, right?
Culturally, that's always been the sentiment.
Yeah. And I that's why I don't have that sort of framework for my children. I need to deserve my children. So in a way, like, I need to earn my keep as an adult.
Yeah.
I need to be someone that is filled with integrity, that takes responsibility for her actions. Like, I have a long list of things that I want to master quite well so that I can deserve the responsibility of having kids, because it's a real honor. And I will say, I've heard from, like, older people, there's nothing more satisfying than, like, being the martyr of the family and just seeing everyone from your family lineage,
oh my god,
smiling,
oh my god,
eating together,
oh my god, Viserys. Oh my god, oh my god. No, sorry for the people that watch us House of the Dragon. If you know, but if you don't, it's fine. Viserys.
That feeling,
yeah,
is, in my opinion, yeah, there's nothing more fulfilling than that. Because I can look at a paycheck and be like, oh, great, and I just earned like another $1 million. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like, the money will die with me.
Yeah.
Even if I do have plans or whatever. But, like, I have no intentions for my kids to, like, carry on my legacy for forever. I just want them to be them, but they came from me. And that's, like, such a satisfying, fulfilling thing. Like, I'm populating the earth with my seed. No.
Yeah. I'm trying to... Right now, I am at the age, by the way, like, I'm 25, right? And definitely, like, I do not, if I do eventually decide that, yes, I want to have children and I'm ready to have children, mama, I'm not going to be ready until probably I'm like 30, 31, 32, right? So it's like, I still got time.
Statistically, that's a pretty good age. Yeah. And with like a lot of things, like financially, all these different things.
Yeah.
And most of the time when parents have their second kid, they're in their 30s. Second kid usually is less exposed to trauma than the first kid.
Yeah.
Because the first kid goes through, like, those really rough, like mid-adult years, you know? The mid-20s.
Also, you're like the guinea pig.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you're the guinea pig.
I'd rather my children be the guinea pig when, like, things are somewhat stable and good versus, like, you know.
Yeah. But I'm at the point in life where I'm trying to unlearn a lot of that very what in my opinion has become very toxic, hyper independent mindset. Like that's something that I haven't. I would have never talked about this shit even last year. You know what I mean? Like this is a very recent thing that I've come to terms with. I look at myself in the mirror and I literally sometimes I'm like, what is wrong with you? Because no, just because it's like, why would you want to be alone? Because I'm so used to telling myself that I don't need a man.
I do remember you once said like a thing that I don't think I'm gonna, you can cut this out, but I think I remember one time you were like, oh, yeah, I might just sell everything that like my mom has given me when she passes away and like, go to Switzerland and have
kill myself.
Yeah, assisted suicide.
Yeah. No, and it's just, and so much of it comes from a place of like, I mean, I don't keep this private, right? I struggle with depression. Everybody, and even my mother knows that, and a lot of suicidal ideations, and so a lot of it is just me projecting, right? But like deep down, I always know, like, no, I don't. Who wants to be alone? Okay, maybe you're Christina Yang. Did you watch Grey's Anatomy?
No.
Grey's Anatomy? No. But Christina Yang, she's one of those like very like, I don't want kids. I don't. The only thing that matters to me is my career as a surgeon. That's like the only thing that matters. Okay, and if that is something genuinely what you want, then okay, by all means, right? By all means. But it's like sometimes, and I see it a lot, I hear it a lot, I feel it a lot with even like not just me myself, but like a lot of my other girlfriends. It's like we put up this facade of like, I don't need a man, I don't want,
I don't subscribe to these patriarchal ideals.
Yeah. I don't need a man. I don't want children. Fuck children. I'm just gonna. I'm like when I'm old and all alone, I'm just gonna become like fucking Hugh Hefner or like
I'm. The only thing I'm gonna be married to is my dog and my glass of wine.
Exactly.
And my job,
I'm gonna fucking jerk off to VR porn all day, like in my little hut in Bali with my little cocker spaniel dog.
That doesn't sound so bad though either. I mean, like
yeah. I mean, in this economy, I mean, like sometimes it's like. It's one of those like what is it, self-deprecation, right? And like there's also sometimes there's something comforting in wallowing in your sorrow and your despair, and it's something recently I'm learning to not do that. And one of the things that I need to stop doing is to stop telling myself like, stop trying to fool myself like, bitch, you don't want to be alone, like you want a man. You want a man. You do so much for the male gaze, which is a different topic. You do so much. You want love, right? Like maybe it's from a man, like hopefully, I guess ideally it's from a man, right? And maybe I do like the idea of children. Even now saying it out loud, I'm like I'm saying
just threw up a little bit in your mouth,
Mama. I'm saying all of this through like gritted teeth. Like I feel like I would like the idea of raising a child. It's more so my problem is I'm the exact opposite of you. I hate babies. I really do. I cannot stand babies. You can
like leave them with me for the first like few years, and then when they're like perfect, I'll be like, yeah, they're good. They've been potty trained. Just like direct them to the bathroom, like they'll be fine.
I can't deal with the kids that like. I don't care if like they're so young that like they are incoherent. Like I can kind of deal with that.
You know what? I've heard from so many mothers as well that love their children, but they hate the early years. Completely fine. Yeah. I'm not going to judge them for that either. The same way we shouldn't judge women that go through postpartum depression.
Oh, 100%.
There are some mothers that, this might sound explicit, literally want to murder their own kids early on. No, because like there's those innate feelings of just like, exhaustion and frustration. And I completely like understand where that comes from as well. So I think there's different facets of motherhood that mothers love the most, and they'll figure that out for themselves as well.
Yeah,
It's also, it's like the same thing as like growing up. You find things that you like and that you don't like.
Yeah.
But again, I guess there's that stereotypical thing where it's like, I feel like mothers sometimes invalidate other mothers, because I've been to like baby showers and stuff, and they're like, oh my god, the first early baby years are so exhausting. And then there's this one mom that's like, oh, those years are gonna pass you by, enjoy it whilst you have it, those kinds of things. So I feel like that's another challenge that like as a mom personally I'm gonna have to go through, because I hate it when other people tell me like, well, or like try to invalidate my feelings and like tell me that
I think
those are the best years of your life, like you should appreciate it whilst you can. I'm like, no, I can hate my kids if I want to, secretly.
There's this one podcast, like I've been seeing clips of them on my TikTok. I don't know the name, but it's literally an entire podcast show run by mothers that talk about how they love their kids but they resent motherhood. Yeah. I'll send it to you, and like I'll try and link it down if
no, that's great.
Yeah, but And also the other thing I want to say, I mean, like the journey of motherhood, the only thing that I know about motherhood, and like clearly I know very little to none.
Same here.
But the only thing I know about motherhood is that it's a very personalized journey, and not everybody's journey is the same. And so I find it stupid if like some woman is trying to tell you what to, like how to feel.
I'm gonna have to struggle with that at some point. Or even the worst thing is like, let's say you only have boys or only have girls, and they'll be like, oh my god, don't you want a boy? Don't you want a girl? Don't you want to try for another one? Like I see the exhaustion that these mothers have, like, should I have another one? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh man,
on top of the whole thing of like, you know, that we cannot afford for other women to be judging other women for their choices.
Yeah,
because there's already that exhaustion and the expectation of like what motherhood should be like. We cannot add on to that, which is why it's like,
especially coming from women. Come on,
guys, we gotta stick together.
Exactly.
We're in this together.
Exactly. My question is, how do you know that becoming a housewife, / stay-at-home mom, whichever one, or both, that it's a genuine want of yours and not something as a result of basically brainwashing? Well,
no one in my family really pressures me to have children. Say maybe like your mom, she's like, yeah, she says that you should, maybe because like from her own experiences as a mother, how fulfilling that might be.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as society, sure, I'm pretty sure I am conditioned somehow by like things I see on TikTok of like mothers loving their kids and all the things. Like, oh, that's a nice thing that I'd like to go through. So,
but aren't we all?
Okay, that's the thing. Aren't we all? But as far as like my own personal circle or like my upbringing, it was never pressured on me to have children. I don't think I was ever pressured to do any one thing. My mom is very like hands off, like the very far opposite of helicopter parenting. For me personally, the way I differentiate is, it's not just something I want to tick off. It's something that I want to prepare for. And it's something that I'm ready for the ups and the downs. I am ready for when it goes to fucking shit. Like hell. Like, I'm ready for those sleepless nights. Yes. Not right now. But that's the thing. I'm keeping in mind that, no, it's not going to be a walk in the fucking park.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, I'm probably not going to have time for myself.
Yeah.
It's a very self-sacrificing thing.
Yeah.
I'm that kind of person that like, loves self-care and all these things. Yeah. I might not be able to spend like 2 hours on my skincare at night because my kid needs to go to sleep and I got to like tuck them in. I completely get that. But maybe that's why, for me, the differentiating part is like, are you really willing to go through like the nitty gritty stuff about it? And do you really want to prepare for it? Which is why I think if you just slow down and really think about it, you're rewarding yourself as well with that thought process of like, do I actually want this?
Yeah. No,
and having a partner that can also help guide your goals in that direction, like you guys are working together, helps a lot. With all my other exes, like it was such a wishy-washy thing as far as like what we wanted to do for our future. With my boyfriend now, it's just so much easier for us to like plan milestones of where we want to head in order to like one day build a family. So it's the same. But as far as socially conditioned, maybe I am. I probably am. I think everyone's socially conditioned to want things.
No, of course. That's like,
Do it. Did I even want to buy this shirt? Yeah, it actually had Clara on it, so I did want to buy this shirt. This is Clara's mouth, you guys.
Shout out Clara. I'm very American with my pronunciation, so.
Lunar.
Lunar. No, not lunar.
Lunar. Oh,
Lunar.
Yeah, E-R.
Lunar.
That's like my least favorite way of people pronouncing my name.
I'm sorry. I can stop. I can learn to stop.
Wait, do you say lunar?
Lunar, yeah.
Oh, that's all right. I didn't even notice. Maybe I don't hate it as much as I do. Maybe am I conditioned? No, that's the thing. I feel like once you start asking yourself like where the root cause of where you want this, it's so, for me it's easy because I know from all the things that maybe my mom couldn't do, I want to do that better, or I want to adopt some of the things that she did do well that I also want to carry on, which is why I urge everyone, before you have children, take a child psychology course, because in a lot of ways it helps you break down like what you need to do, what the child is going through, and there's a lot of different methods that you can try that are actually like well researched. Maybe personally that's a passion of mine that I like to read on my own time. I completely understand if some people are like unfamiliar with some of the concepts, but my thing, it's better to be well prepared and to take it in a calculated way versus being completely overwhelmed. And also, I suffer from really bad ADHD and like horrible anxiety.
Yup.
I cannot be late to pick up my kids. This is something I've told Duff. I am so scared. What if I just forget one day that they're at like daycare?
Oh my god,
what the fuck am I gonna do?
Like, what if one day? No, dead ass. Dead ass. I swear to God, one day I'm gonna be shopping at Bloomingdale's and I forgot my kid.
Yeah.
Dalvin, that's literally.
I feel like Duff, one day there's gonna be like, I don't know, a sale at like Prada, and I have to pick up my kid and like watch the recital. Like I have to pick the kid.
Yeah.
I have to pick the kid. I can't pick the product.
Oh my god, I remember there was this one, I don't know if Peter, Jane, I don't know if you guys remember, there was this one viral tweet of this like woman, and she was saying something about how like, oh, it's on Overheard Jakarta. It was on Overheard Jakarta. There was like this mom, she was saying like, essentially the story was she went to McDonald's with her kid, and then usually, you know how like the chicken skin is like the best part of the chicken, but then you know it's like true love, like you are like,
you know what you love when you
kid,
give them,
when you give the chicken skin to your kid, because she wanted the chicken skin, but she gave it to her kid instead.
I feel like that's right now I can't picture myself doing that. Like okay, maybe I don't love KFC, but I freaking love Awe. Right now, I cannot, as much as I love babies, if that baby was starving, I'm so sorry. No, I'm kidding. I'm completely kidding. But like, I cannot imagine giving my Awe skin right now. But hey, who knows? That motherly instinct kicks in.
Oh,
I'm really riding on that motherly instinct that has not come to give that Awe chicken skin. But like, till then, you know. But that's why I also encourage, like, why I said 30s is a pretty good age, because you have that like 10 year to just kind of figure things out.
Yeah, and just like make the most of your youth as well, right? And like find yourself. My goodness, I'm kind of contemplating, should I bring this up, should I not, because I've done it before, but like you know, I love IB higher level literature, English literature. There was this one book by Virginia Woolf. It's called A Room of One's Own. Right, and the premise of it was just like a lot of women back in the Virginia Woolf days, right? They were kind of always, back in the dark times. A lot of women, they weren't given the literal time, the space, like both figurative space and also physical space, to think who they want to be and what they want to do with their life outside the scope of just being a mom and being a wife. Now we're kind of like, well, I guess I don't know. We're
just kind of reworking that. I think. Ideally, we'd be reworking it, not reversing it. Because reversing it would mean like the opposite, right? The direct opposite from that. I think now there's a lot of emphasis, and I'm happy to see this on TikTok, where it's like, there are moms that don't like to engage in active play with their children. They're okay. Like, that's fine. Just because you don't want to play with your kid doesn't mean you're a fucking monster. And there's also ways for like now mothers, they can connect, you know, through each other online, and they can find ways to like give themselves self-care. But again, I will say the biggest contributor to like a sane mother and a sane wife is a husband that is willing to also participate in the child rearing process. And thank God I found someone that like is fine getting down and dirty with the diapers, is fine with like, you know, scheduling pickups. Again, it's a team effort.
Does Edgar like kids?
He likes kids. I think he likes the idea of kids a lot. He likes kids.
That's what I'm scared of.
He likes the family aspect. He loves the family aspect of it. So kids are just a natural part of that process. You know, and I think he'll very much enjoy being a father. What kind of father? A good one. A strict one, maybe.
Better be.
No, I think
better be. Me and Tough and beat the shit out of him. Set him straight.
Because he grew up in an all boys school, so he's very tough. He's a tough love.
One of those traditional masculine.
Yeah.
Well, not the Andrew Tate. He's not. No, he's not Andrew Tate.
He's not. No. He's the opposite of that. He's very much like.
But he's a real man, like a real masculine man,
and he sees how that strength should be redirected towards helping the women in his life. Now, that's what I admire. Because like, I remember one time I was like, I think I was having my period and I was like craving all these weird foods. And he's like, damn, one day you're going to have to go through this when you're pregnant. But I'm prepared. I'll go through every supermarket if I need to like, I think it was like mangoes, like mango sticky rice. Duffin, when have you ever heard me want mango sticky rice? So weird, right?
Do you not like mango sticky rice?
I do, apparently, on my period. So like, you know, and Edgar was like looking for those kinds of things. And another thing that I wanted to touch on, and maybe this is again exclusively towards motherhood. I feel like we should talk about housewives more in a bit.
Yeah.
But another thing was like, there is a tradition, and I saw a TikTok of it, but I cannot find it, of husbands teaming up with their children to actively hate or not appreciate the mother. And this is something that happens often. And even if it's not a spoken truth, I see it within my friends' households where it's like, oh yeah, my dad's great. Like, he's a fucking boss. And they talk about their moms. They're like, Mom, stop bothering me. Like, I'm not hungry. Like, all these different... Actually, this was my ex at one point. He yelled at his mom for cooking for him. And he wasn't hungry yet. Thank God he's an ex. Yeah. But like, that's what I mean.
Sorry.
Go. Yeah, so it's very much men have a really big role to play and aid in the reconstruction of what a housewife and how a mother is seen and functions and thrives in the household. Because like, I can't imagine if I was a a housewife and like my kids and my husband were teaming up on me.
Yeah.
How lonely must that feel? That's a horrible feeling. So if you haven't hugged your mother today, you probably should.
Yeah. I know, and it's, no, and like when you're, especially like when you're high school and below, right? Here's the thing, the kind of the double-edged sword of being a stay-at-home mom. It's like literally like you're kind of just devoted to your child, which is a wonderful thing, right? I acknowledge that now, but it's like sometimes it also, I guess, from the child perspective, is like my mom is too much like up my throat, like you know what I mean?
I get that.
Whereas dad traditionally, like,
he goes to work. There's sort of that like distance where like. Yeah, I guess a sort of like a mini distance makes the heart grow fonder, where like you don't constantly see dad like reminding you to do things or like asking you to pick up your shit. How it's like good cop, bad cop. You know, mom constantly has to play the bad cop if she's staying at home because that's who you see the most, right?
Exactly.
Oh, that does make sense. That does make sense.
Yeah.
I think we should get a mom on here to talk about how moms can have like other resources, because one thing that my mom is doing now is that she's actively participating in like different communities. Like she has a choir club now. That's the kind of mom that I hope to be as well. At some point, yes, the first 7 years, I'm probably going to be at home more. But once they start having like their own form of independence and like they can do their own chores and all these things, yeah, I think it's great to have something on the side. Which is why, thank God, if I do have a graphic design degree, fingers crossed, I can like basically still pursue my artistic, ambitions like on my own time.
Yeah, while still also rearing your child.
I think it's a very difficult thing, which is why it's so important that women have a community and like you can talk to other moms, and God, moms can be so judgmental, which is why that's another video for another time, but like help your women community out, girl. Like you know, it's a very lonely process sometimes, like being a mom or like even being a working woman when you don't have other women to fall back on and ask for advice.
Right, so much of this was focusing on motherhood.
On moms. So let's like give a little shout out, Rudy to the housewives.
Which probably might be like the majority of like, not the majority of like my audience watching, but like I do like, I don't know.
I think your demographic is quite young, so maybe they haven't had the chance to like.
They're young, not too young where they're not married, but too young to, I guess, have children. I mean, I don't know. I'm making assumptions here. But housewives.
Live your best life, man. Go to those Pilates classes. No, actually, hey, a housewife can do a lot as well. And I've seen like a lot of housewives literally raise their husbands in a way. Like I guess I don't think they do it solely for their husbands, but like look at them go. Like their mental health is like A game. Like they have so much time to themselves to develop what they want to do and what they're interested in. Just because you're a housewife doesn't mean that you're not like pursuing other things. It doesn't even need to be things that people actively see.
Yeah.
Whether it be corporate or like a business. Like, you know, who knows what housewives are doing? I haven't met a lot of housewives. Usually housewives are already mothers.
Yeah.
Because we live in Jakarta,
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of those. So I think we should probably invite someone that's maybe more experienced next time.
Not here in Jakarta. Like back in LA, I do know someone who's like, have you ever like met or at least like heard of the type of people on the internet where, like on the internet, have you maybe ever heard of the type of people where they want the marriage to a man but they don't want the kids, and so like they'll just be like housewives like for the rest of their lives, like they're not having children, which is not like a bad no, I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Dude, enjoy your life with your partner. Okay, I can imagine those 2 years that I'm gonna have with Edgar where we're like just married to be filled with just so much growth.
Yeah.
You know, because as a married couple, like I guess a lot of people also shit on marriage now. They just see it as like a legal institution type thing.
Me.
With those legal institutions comes a lot of change. You know, you're basically, if something ever bad happens to me, it all falls on him.
Yeah.
Like the legality of it is such a big change in one's life as well. And it's such a public proclamation as well, because everyone knows you're married now. So there's a lot of growth that can happen in 2 years when you're both married, living under the same roof, or like just doing things together. You know what? I've seen a lot of people that maybe have gone through like relationship trauma, and then they find that one person and they just want to like spend time together. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and hopefully maybe I get there, because I'm at the place where I'm like, fuck marriage.
It's such a beautiful thing though, to like take care of each other.
Yeah.
Like,
well, okay, here's the thing, right? And I don't know where you stand on this. Like with marriage, I guess to an extent there is the legal definition of marriage where, you know, the government and like the banks and everything and like lawyers like get involved. Then there's like the sentiment of marriage.
Maybe like the religious.
do I want church and mosques to be involved? I mean, I'm Buddhist, so I guess it don't really matter to me.
Maybe
but
the
like,
more
sentimental,
like,
yeah,
part of it, the sanctity of marriage, I guess.
Yeah. No, but no. Like, there's the legal definition of marriage where like you guys are by law like attached to each other, but then there's the sentiment of marriage where it's like we are monogamous with just each other. We're committed to each other, like we
through sickness and through health.
Through sickness and through health. Through sickness and through health without the legal commitment to it. You know, like it's a genuine like emotional, mental commitment that you're willing to make, regardless. I'm for the sentimental definition of marriage. I think that is what I want. I think so far where I stand, I do not want the legal definition of marriage because I do view it as like I think
you've told me how you want a prenup and all those kinds of things. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. Please. Okay. Hey. If you disagree with this, or if your religion says otherwise, like okay, I'm just stating my opinion here. Disclaimer. But if you can get a prenup, get a fucking prenup. Divorces are messy.
Prenups are actually not so much for the couple. I mean, it can be if you choose not to have children. If you choose to have children, it's much easier for them because resources are allocated properly. There's not so much of a dispute. You can go back to focusing on like what your children are going through, and it also helps them figure out like, okay, mom has this, dad has that. All right, great. Yeah, because that's something at some point you're gonna have to break it down to your children as well. Yeah, but if it's just between the two of you, dude, don't drive yourself up the wall crazy. I think me and Edgar, we don't want a prenup because, like, you know, that's just our own personal choice. Yeah. But for people that do, and he's going to be a lawyer, right, one day. Yeah. And he's also advocated a prenup makes things so much easier. It makes figuring out, like, the logistics of, like, how you're going to part ways. Yeah. And it prevents you from hurting each other. Yeah. Because there's so much hurt that you can literally inflict on your partner just through, like, materialistic things or maybe the real estate, like who gets the house, who gets the car, and like the ugly stuff can really come out. So if you figure that out early on, you save a lot of trouble from really like hurting your partner. Yeah,
and also just like the emotional side of a divorce is hard enough. You want to throw in the financial side of it, right? Yeah, exactly. But I'm all for getting a prenup. My mom also like I support it. We are 10 toes down about the fact that no, we need to get a prenup.
Hey, and if you find a partner that's like super offended by the prenup, they're probably not meant for you.
Oh yeah, no, hell no.
It's a good way to filter through like, you know, who understands, like, especially in your case, you do come from, you have a lot of assets behind you, right? Yeah. So, I can't even imagine the legality of trying to split that between someone that didn't even earn that.
Exactly.
I'm all
over my dead body. You taking my shit.
I'm all for what's mine is yours, but at some point, no, that is mine. Though. That is mine. Like, that is mine.
What's mine is yours. But not really.
But not really. But it's still mine. But you can like, you know, borrow it. You can like, you know. Yeah. I think as a human being, no matter what you do or what role you choose to play, whether that's the mother, the housewife, you should tend to responsibilities. You should take initiative to realize what needs your attention around you. Yeah. You know, I think there is. God, this might sound pretty Jordan B. Peterson of me. That guy's problematic as hell, but he does have good points. He has a psychology degree. Yeah. There is no other better way to be fulfilled by tending to your responsibilities. Live a life of responsibility. Yeah. And I think that's not just a form of like being subservient or submissive, but that's literally just finding ways for you to help your environment or the people around you.
Well, deriving a sense of purpose beyond just trying to purpose yourself. Yeah. No, he literally, Jordan B. Peterson, I nearly said this earlier, like when we started this episode, there was that one quote from him, like tying into motherhood or just like parenthood in general, not just mothers, but even like for dads, of how Jordan Peterson, one time he said, and I don't 100% agree with this, but I see where he's going, where it's like, you don't fully become a mature adult until you start caring for someone other than yourself. Yeah. And usually and then he was talking it more in the context of like parenthood, like you start becoming mature, a mature adult.
There's like that sort of selfless act where you would genuinely take a bullet for somebody.
Yeah. But the only thing I disagree with that, well, yes, that is true, but it doesn't have to be in kids. It can be like in someone else.
That's the thing. That sort of aspect can bleed into every other facet of your life. Like, exactly. Especially even if you are a housewife, it's more or less just tending to the people around you and making sure that they're okay.
Yeah. I want to talk about this so fucking bad. The whole submissive versus subservient. How it drives me up the fucking wall.
What's the difference between the two?
The difference, being submissive is that you are consenting to being led. Keyword, led. Like, it is contingent upon the other's ability to even lead in the first fucking place. My issue, there's a lot of these like fucking Andrew Tates and Sneekos, fucking alpha males. They want submissive women when they can't even lead.
They're gonna, like, where are you leading me? Off a cliff?
Yeah, exactly. You know,
I'm gonna be submissive to the point where, like, I'm literally falling off a cliff because you told me to. Like,
you know what I mean? Like, metaphorically, it's like, for example, I've thought about this a lot, right? Submissive is like you and me, right? Let's say we just got out of class and I asked you, hey, where do you want to go for lunch? If you say like, oh, like, I don't mind, like, you can pick, like, I trust your judgment. That you will take me to somewhere good if I just leave it up to you. You are technically being submissive to me. Like, that is what it means.
Yeah, I'm giving you the lead.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. But imagine, right, if fucking, and this kind of like technically in real life, like that's kind of what always happens between two people that like are trying to decide what to eat, and like none of us can like come up with anything. Subservient would be like, let's say our dynamic is that you should always listen to me because, like, let's say I'm older or
so
something
like automatically
like that,
we come out of class, I'm just like eating where you want to eat. I'm
yes,
not even
exactly.
asking.
But I don't even know. No, but here's the thing. I don't even know where to eat. I don't even know where to eat. Dude,
that is like a boyfriend's worst nightmare.
No, but then
like, babe, what do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. I don't know.
No, but then yeah, both of them don't know. Both of them are fucking clueless. But the dynamic that has been set by the one like in power, like let's say like stereotypically like the men, right? All these fucking like sexist ass men that want they don't want submissive wives or girlfriends. They want subservient wives. Where it's like, I don't even know what I want to do, but all I know is that you gotta go with what I say. That's subservient. A lot of men, they don't realize it, and that's what drives me up the fucking wall. You don't want submissive women. You want subservient women. There's a difference. Oh, it pisses me off.
Wasn't
so
this
much.
like our last topic as well, where it's like, son, oh, I can't say that. Yeah,
no, we can censor that. But yeah, a certain politician's son,
son,
notorious online for having mommy issues.
Yeah,
I think we all know who it is.
You need good mothers.
Yeah,
if not,
yes, or you end up
mommy issues.
And okay, no. I want to be fair. Like, I don't know. Look, first of all, I don't know his mom, right? I don't know the wife of the politician. Like, I'm sure she's a lovely woman. Oh well, okay. Maybe I don't know. We can't assume.
But
yeah, no. I don't want to assume, right? At the same time, like, you can't always blame the parents.
Yeah.
You can't always blame the parents. You know that one of the school shooters in the U.S., I think the shooter of Sandy Hook.
Oh yeah, people did blame
the mom. No. And the mom, she did a TED talk. She got up on stage and she's like, you know
yeah,
that
I
incident?
saw.
Yeah, that's my son. My son was a school shooter, and I had no idea.
That had millions of views. That really touched me.
Yeah. No, like, okay, no indication whatsoever. The mom did not pick up a single clue that her son would even be capable of doing that. And when that happened,
she was blaming herself a lot.
And she was blaming herself a lot.
Ate her alive at some point, because a lot of people online were also blaming her. Like, how could you have not known? You were the very reason that my child cannot be here today.
I don't think, I feel like, no, and I saw that woman on the TED Talk, and like, I feel for her so much, and like, I feel like she's a good mom. I feel like she's a good mom, but at some point, sometimes the harsh reality is you could be the best mom in the world.
But there are external factors, biological factors that play into how your child will ultimately turn out. And
exactly.
Now that I feel a lot of self-blame as someone that's not even a mom yet, I have to tell myself, like, I cannot blame myself crazy when I'm a mom as well for the mistakes that I make.
Postpartum depression eating
Postpartum depression, or like even things that my kids do that I'm not completely aware of. Because we know some kids that are fucking horrible people, but their parents are like angels.
Yeah.
So again, the relationship between like parenting and like a good child, it can help, but it's not the end all be all. And I guess that's also a scary part about being a parent, is that it's like Russian roulette.
Yeah.
You really don't know how your kid's going to turn out.
Yeah, because you can't decide what you get unless you're like Davin and you want a designer baby.
The designer baby. But hey, even you don't even know what that designer baby will choose for itself.
Like, you know what the designer,
for
you know what
itself.
The baby.
Sorry, we don't know yet.
You can choose how the baby looks. You can't, I mean, can you do that with designer babies? Can you like wipe out, like, I don't know, if the kid's like a fucking psychopath? No. Yeah, exactly. Like,
I feel like if that were the case, we'd like completely stop like trying to produce babies the natural way. So we could,
100%.
I feel like Elon Musk would love to do that though. Just like produce like a line of like little baby Elon Musk Jr.
With like some
sentient robots that can just like carry out his like Tesla duties daily.
I would just wonder how would he memorize all the names of the children. I can't even memorize the name of the first one. I feel like we've kind of covered. I feel like this is like a general introduction into motherhood and motherhood and like wifehood. Wifehood.
I think although this is a lot about maybe like the severity of how feminism has like basically contradicted itself and has a lot of like hypocritical points, we're also trying to highlight maybe for those that have more views that align with maybe this hyper independent feminism. I think we did a great job of like introducing what motherhood really entails, what being a housewife really entails, like the heart of it, and like maybe that's something that you guys can resonate with. Just the same way that you resonated with Vivian's speech. There was a lot of heart in that. And so again, empathy, finding like the human connection. When you find like similarities between other people's dreams with yours, it's much easier to understand why they want things. And so again, don't lose that human aspect when someone is talking about what they want. Don't automatically go into projection. Just think about like, damn, the way she talked about motherhood really touched me, you know? In the same way that like the way that Vivian had all these accolades and she talked about motherhood, it was like, damn, that's something that can put into perspective for you because you've been expected so much, right? Whether it be like academic or like career or whatever. And then you find someone that has achieved all those things, yet they still want motherhood. And that clicks for you.
Very much
because you found similarities between her speech and what you were going through. So I think that's why, again, part of keeping an open mind, part of relating to others is just like, find that connection.
And also don't forget like the root of feminism, right, is at the end of the day to empower women to make choices for themselves and to pursue life the way that they want to, even if you don't agree with it. It's not none of your fucking business, right? I think we just that's kind of just like my whole thing of like I'm very much like, I mean, obviously like in aggregate, like I am still for the feminism movement. It's just I think we are at the risk of going too far left
and hurting women,
hurting ourselves in the process,
hurting ourselves
too.
In the process, and being too harsh on ourselves and the people around us.
Exactly. But that is it.
That is it
for today's episode. Thank you, Lunar, for being here. Of course. You are literally one of like the most. You and Katie are like the most frequently asked to like come back on the show.
I
so
love
thank you
Katie.
So much, right? Don't we all? And we love you. And we love you. And thank you so much for coming back on. Don't worry, Davin. I love you too. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being behind the scenes, Davin, and keeping us company. Anyways, you guys, that is it for today's episode. Make sure to like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe, you fucking cunts.
Subscribe for more explicit educational content.
Bye!